Milei's coalition needs to score more than 34% in the upcoming midterm elections to push through legislation to bolster the economy. Polls show support for him is flagging. Is it true these elections really could go either way at this point?
Hey guys, well, I think what's really important is that it seems like a done deal that Milei can secure a third of the seats in the lower house of Congress. That is something that investors are widely expecting. That would help protect Milei's vetoes, which have been overturned as the opposition has tried to push through spending bills recently. But what Milei's team has already talked about publicly is that they're not going to get a simple majority, which is what they would need to pass the deep economic reforms on labor and taxes that Milei has promised both voters and investors who are waiting to see how this vote turns out. So it's really going to be something of a make or break moment for Milei's economic agenda, and of course this $40 billion U.S. rescue package coming from the Trump administration.
If it's not a make, but rather a break moment, what does it mean Monday or come Monday when we think about markets and policy or changes in policy out of Argentina?
Well, we will definitely be looking at how the sovereign bonds perform as well as the currency. There has been market speculation that the Milei administration has pushed back against. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has also pushed back against it, that there would be some overhaul of Argentina's currency policy. Investors have been thinking that this is a necessary change because the peso is widely seen in markets as overvalued. If Milei is not able to secure that 1/3 of seats in the lower house of Congress, that gives him something of a legislative shield and negotiating power with other blocs in Argentina, you could see a lot of pressure on the peso and on those sovereign bonds and potentially a policy change. We are expecting Monday or soon after the vote for Milei to overhaul his cabinet. His foreign minister already resigned this week. There's a new minister in place. So we expect a wider change in the cabinet that's supposed to help consolidate power and help Milei build his coalition.
You know, Patrick, we've spent some time this week talking about this $20 billion swap deal this week. And you know, it's not a monolith by any means, but how would you characterize Argentine support right now coming from the U.S. in this? I mean, this is just, how do you characterize it?
Well, I think it's a bit ironic in the sense that if you think about beyond the currency swap line, which is $20 billion, Milei campaigned as a president 2 years ago on dollarizing Argentina, and now he has the U.S. Treasury buying Argentine pesos. So it's a bit of a turn of the tables, but there's three pillars. There's the currency swap line, the buying of the pesos, and the negotiations that are still underway for Wall Street financing of another $20 billion for Milei that are meant to dispel any investor concerns that Argentina can make upcoming debt payments. It's really unprecedented U.S. support for Argentina, but of course President Trump himself conditioned that support on Milei's party winning these midterm elections.
So then what happens if his party doesn't win the midterm elections?
Right, exactly. So there's been these new conditions introduced that we have to see, and what exactly is defined as a win. Of course, you could look at the national level, but these results are going to be coming in Sunday night, province by province. And of course, in Buenos Aires province, where a third of Argentines live, that has overwhelmingly a huge number of seats. So that'll be a top battleground, and we'll be looking at some of the key interior provinces where Milei now needs to make up the ground that he's lost because this whole market sell-off and U.S. Rescue package came together after Milei lost the local election in the province of Buenos Aires. So if it's a worst case scenario, of course, the first eyes will be on Scott Bessent and how he reacts and if the support is still in place.
You know, Patrick, one of the things I think we've been trying to get our head around, I don't want to come off like an obnoxious American, but it's just why is the U.S. singling out Argentina for support? What do we need to understand about the Argentinian economy or its role in South America? What do we need to understand why this is an important relationship and for the U.S. to provide support here?
Well, I think there's two key differences. One is Scott Bessent called Argentina a systemic ally or something to that effect. His word was systemic. And I think it's statistically hard to make the case in the sense that if the Argentine economy collapses, I mean, Brazil doesn't even sneeze next door, let alone the rest of the region. But when you think about the geopolitical relationship, there's a lot at stake in the sense that Argentina has big lithium, uranium, other rare earth reserves, copper, gold. I could go on. So that could be a key concession from Argentina to the U.S. in exchange for this financial support. And then, of course, China. China has a space station in Argentina. China has an $18 billion swap line with the Argentine Central Bank. Scott Bessent has made clear that Milei has to be committed to getting China out of Argentina without explicitly saying what that looks like in real terms. So there's a lot of geopolitical issues on the table, a lot of sort of strategic interest in terms of natural resources here. But from a statistic or economic perspective, Argentina is not systemic, neither to the U.S. nor to the Latin American economy.
And I will say the post that the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent put out, Argentina is a systemically important U.S. ally in Latin America, and the U.S. Treasury stands ready to do what is needed within its mandate to support Argentina. All options for stabilization are on the table. That was on September 22nd, so this is going back.
It's a whatever it takes approach, really a Mario Draghi style approach by Scott Bessent here.